Please label your notes Module 16 Station 2. This is assignment 49. This is one set of notes out of 3 for the 3 stations. So make sure you're copying down the notes. We have to write a rule to describe the transformation. So if you have your tracing paper, this is where I would recommend that you use it. If not, that's okay. So I'm not going to use tracing paper. Instead, I'm going to use the rules. So if I write down my coordinates for the pre-image, which is the one in black, T, U, V, and S, and then afterwards write the coordinates for their corresponding sides, T prime, U prime, V prime, and S prime. Let's write down the coordinates so that we can do this. So I just wrote the coordinates for the pre-image. Now if I write the coordinates for the image, so now I'm going to do that. Okay, I wrote down the rules. So right now, take out your notes from, I think it's 16.2, so that you have your table of what X, Y changes to with the rules. And I want you to compare. So I'm not going to write down the solution. You guys are going to write it down. So I want you to take out your notebook. But 0, 0, the first point doesn't help us because the coordinates are the same. But what do you notice about U's X value? So it went from 3 to negative 3. So what happened? Well, the X value changed to a negative X value. Let's check if this is the same for all of them. 2, negative 2. Did the X change from positive to negative? Yes, it did. And how about at S? Negative 1 to positive 1. So did their sign change? Yes, so the X value does go from X to negative X. Now let's look at the Y value. Negative 1, positive 1. Oh, look, the Y value changed from negative to positive. Negative 3, positive 3. The Y value changed from negative to positive. And same thing here. So that means that the Y will also change. Look this up in your notes and tell me what the rule is. Is it a reflection across the x-axis? Is it a rotation of 90 degrees counterclockwise? What is it? And I want you to make sure that you write it down on this slide. So I want to make sure you're using your notes. If you're on station 2 and you don't have your notebook out, then that tells me you're not on task. We need to write a rule to describe the transformation. So here you notice that the coordinates are not in order. They start with R first, but then they give us S. So I'm going to write them in order underneath. So R prime is negative 5, positive 3. S prime is negative 3, negative 1. T prime is negative 2, negative 1. And the last one I'm going to ignore because I think I have enough information. So I'm going to cross these out. What do we notice for the R's? The negative 5 stays the same. So that means that the X value is going to stay the same. But let's check S and T. We won't check U because that's the fourth point. So let's check S and T. So if I check S, negative 3, the X value stayed the same. If I check the X value for T, negative 2, and his corresponding point, negative 2. So the X didn't change. But let's check the Y. So negative 3, positive 3. Oh, the Y changed from a negative to a positive. So that tells us that the Y has to change signs. Let's check the other ones. Positive 1 to negative 1. Oh, look, it changed. And T, positive 1 to negative 1. So here's the rule. Look at the chart again and tell me what it is. Is this a reflection across the x-axis? Is it a reflection across the y-axis? Is it a rotation? Is it a translation? What is it? Write it down. This one's a translation, so it's asking us, oops, I went forward. We have to graph the image. So here you would graph the image HGFE. And what we have to do is we have to do a translation. So I know this is a translation because I'm adding values to my X and my Y. So for this one, all I'm doing is I'm moving. So for X, I have to go 1 unit right. So I'm going to start at H. So 1 to the right, right there. And then my Y value tells me 2 up. So 1, 2. So now here's my H prime. I'm going to do the same thing again. So 1 right and 2 up. I'm going to do it again. 1 right and 2 up. So here's E prime. 1 right and 2 up. F prime. 1 right and 2 up. G prime. So now I can graph my points and there is my translation. I don't have to do anything else because all I was asked to do was to do my translation. So this one was an easy one. Some of them are going to ask you to rotate. Some of them are going to ask you to reflect. You can use your table from your notes, or you can just use your tracing paper. So now this was asking us to find the coordinates. This is the same thing as a graph, except this time you don't have a graph. So all you're going to do is you apply the rule. So the x's, you're going to subtract 2 to all of them, because that's what it says. And for the y's, it says to add 2. So whatever the rule says, that's what I'm going to do. So if you look at this, that's all I did. Negative 3 minus 2 is negative 5. Negative 5 plus 2 is negative 3. That's what I did for all of these. So look at your answers and compare them to mine. That concludes this station. Start working on your handout.